Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another scene of Living World of Darkness. Today we will be having a nice relaxed conversation and gathering of vampires, and Lady Sheridan has arranged for everyone to meet her at a small, fairly trendy but not too upscale wine bar, and has rented the upstairs room for everyone to gather in, at least to begin with. She'll be there already, and gently ushering out the staff. There's a few bottles of wine on the table that can be readily ignored, and she'll be sitting quite casually, waiting for the first of her guests to arrive, whilst writing in a notepad about something. So who's going to be the first to show up?
Oh, why not? It doesn't bother knocking. The door to the upstairs room opens, and in slopes the lithe figure of Limey, wearing a sort of a relatively beaten up tonic midnight blue suit with his usual hat on, and he kind of slopes into the room and sees Lady Sheridan, sort of nods. Evening, Lady Sheridan.
Good evening. How have you been lately?
Oh, I can't complain. Of course, unpleasant business aside, my mortal affairs seem to be going rather well. What about yourself?
I've been doing relatively well. A few ups and downs, of course, but nothing to complain about.
C'est la vie, c'est la vie. He kind of sort of points to a chair and then sort of as if to say, "Is this seat taken?" And then just sort of nudges it out with his foot and sort of lounges back into it and hangs his arm over the back and pours himself a glass of wine, but just sort of of course doesn't drink it. He kind of sits and looks at the glass before looking up, and he says, "So, anyone else due to arrive, or is it just you and me?"
It can be relatively hard to tell, I find, but I certainly won't count it a wasted evening in your company.
Oh, you're too kind.
Speaking of matters that you've been handling lately, how are things going? I do hope that you're at least a little closer to finding out quite who was behind all those incidents.
I believe we're very close. Samuel, the maestro's ghoul, has been obtained. I had a word with his teacher, found out where he lived. Me and Frank busted in, searched the place over. He kind of shudders a little bit and says, what we found inside wasn't particularly pleasant, but we found the maestro's notebook, and like I said, we now have Samuel. Frank's taking care of him somewhere. He's a little bit bruised, but otherwise well cared for.
Well, I'm glad to hear that things are progressing well.
And of course, I believe I've found the maestro's next hit. Open air concert, Debussy. I think that's where she's going to make her next move.
Ah. Well, it is always good to be one step ahead.
Certainly is. Open air though. I'm afraid that if we don't manage to stop her, then this one could be pretty nasty.
Yes. Do we know much more about her?
I know she has spectacular taste in earrings. I know that she's, I don't know any more than you apart from that. lover of the classical arts. We know a little bit more about her influences. Her work is her repertoire is by no means extinguished. Having looked at her notebook, these macabre spectacles can only get more grisly. However, her, not so much. We'll know more when we manage to pump Samuel for a little bit of information. And he's usually relatively ambivalent when he's talking about matters of business, but when he sort of references leaning on Samuel for information, his lip curls slightly at the corner into a small smile before it drops again and his face is passive. So what about you? Have you managed to find anything, or?
Well, I am not sure if you heard, but Ghost did locate two of Lady Arabeth's ghouls, who are now living with me, and of course the lady herself. It's quite unfortunate what's happened to her.
And has the prince announced final death yet, or?
Not yet. I think I'm being given time to deal with the ghouls to an extent before the shock of losing their domitor.
Well, let's try and deal with them relatively quickly.
I'm certainly doing my utmost.
I'm sure you don't need 2 extra ghouls wasting your time.
About this time, there's a tentative knock on the door. Before it slowly opens, standing there is a fresh face, dressed in what looks to be a relatively once fine suit. It now looks ratty and torn, almost to the point of being hobo-ish looking. Jason walks in, looks at the other two, and stops.
Lady Sheridan will raise an eyebrow.
Limey will also raise an eyebrow and sort of fold his hands on the table. And who might you be?
Jason, I was informed about a gathering?
About that time, Isabel.
Choosing words carefully.
Oh, sorry. Didn't know you were talking. About that time, Isabel will appear from behind Jason, wearing an orange and black dress. Probably a little too dressy to be here, but Isabel never knows how to dress for anything. It's okay, guys. I brought him. And she smiles.
Limey kind of stands up and sort of extends his hand as he walks over to the newcomer. He says, "Oh, Blondie, lovely to see you again." And he sticks his hand out towards Jason to shake, and he says, "They call me Limey. I'm a harpy round here, you dig?"
He takes his hand and slightly confused look to Isabel, but shakes. Sorry, I'm new to the whole scene. Harpy?
Please do take a seat. Lady Sheridan gestures to the seats at the table.
I'll fill you in a little later. Best acknowledge the hostess. And he kind of pulls a seat out for Isabel before walking back to his own.
Isabel will sit down in the seat, and she will turn her attention to Lady Sheridan and offer a polite smile and say, "Ah, Lady Sheridan, it's nice to see you again."
It is lovely to see you as well. And you introduced yourself as Jason, I believe? I'm Lady Sheridan. Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Jason walks up to Lady Sheridan, nods his head. Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. Before he turns and, not taking a seat, takes up a position behind Isabel, looking nervously around.
Limey kind of looks up at the guy and he says, "Hey man, you look a little tense. We're all friends here. Why don't you chill?"
It's just being inside, not completely used to it after the long trip. And he slowly pulls out a seat and sits down in it.
Do you prefer being outside then?
Yeah, being close to the earth, it's calming.
You may want to be somewhat careful. Well, the lupines have an affinity for the earth as well, and I hear they have been expanding from simply Central Park into at least one of the others. I don't know about any more.
Yeah. Basically, be careful. Don't walk through Central Park ever, really. And I believe you'll have to ask the Gangrel which other parks they've expanded into. Generally, they're rather up to date on these sorts of things.
Isabel kind of snickers as they mention Central Park and kind of gives Jason a nudge. And a sort of "I told you so" look, once again.
Limey kind of shoots Blondie a glance and kind of looks between the two of them like he's been left out of the joke. Like, sort of,
Sorry, I've heard about Central Park. I spent a week there before getting picked up.
He's been sitting on my couch ever since.
yeah,
You
are
spent
very...
a week in the park.
Well, yeah, being able to sink into the ground while I tried to get my bearings. I figured it was the safest place to be.
To be fair, that's not a bad defense mechanism, but you are, all the same, very lucky to have come out intact, my son.
And that's what I've been told as well. But upon meeting fellow Gangrel as well, meeting Mr. Green, he has since forewarned me about going to Central Park.
I believe Mr. Green was the first person to give me the very same warning.
Well, I'm glad that you managed to survive that incident.
Mm.
And then, after a little bit of time, Celio will walk into the room, close the door behind him, and look to everyone who's there. Am I late?
Just a little bit.
Parking in this part of town is terrible.
I usually take a cab.
I see why.
New York visit. Good to see you again, Mr. Rossi.
Good to see all of you. He looks between Limey and Lady Sheridan and Jason and Isabel.
So, have you been finding more uses for your talents lately?
Not just yet, but I think it's just been slow.
I had suggested to Mr. Rossi before that he might be able to help us with Samuel, a man of his particular powers of the blood.
Yeah, and I never got a message from you saying when we were going to start on that, but I think my phone ran out of battery, and you may have sent me a message at that point. So
we haven't started on it yet. He's still in France.
Ah, okay.
Well, that is excellent. I do hope that you will find everything useful.
Well, everything has a use somewhere.
Limey kind of slouches back into his chair as the silence falls over the table. He just sort of leans back into it comfortably and folds his arms.
So, hopefully that will settle the matter of the ghoul.
Hopefully. Of course we'll have to dispose of him afterwards, but unfortunately these things must be done sometimes. He's too dangerous to be left to his own devices when this is all over.
Of course. There are many ways that you can deal with them, though.
Yes, well, I've got one or two in mind.
Anyway, enough of business. Do tell me, what is it exactly that brings you to our city? This is to Jason with a small smile.
Well, after being converted, I didn't have any family where I was at. I had some lost cousins in New York, and so this is the way I came. And I've only been here 2 weeks, but I've had the fortunate event of meeting Celia and Isabel.
You could certainly have found worse people to shack up with. Your sire must have really hated you. New York's in turmoil at the moment.
I have no idea who my sire is. I traveled all the way here from Idaho.
Long trip.
Have you been educated on the niceties of our culture?
Some of them. I've been told about the masquerade and not to break it. I've been told where to and not to hunt. Though at the meantime, Isabel has been keeping me well fed. And I'm still waiting to meet the prince. I've been told that I would need to do that eventually to make my presence known.
Yeah, in terms of good etiquette, yes, it is appropriate to be presented to the prince when first in the city. However, the prince lately is a very busy man. And seeing as there are several members of the court here, I'd say you're safe for the moment. As long as he's alerted to your presence, then we'll make sure you get to see him as soon as possible.
Other than that, I'm just trying to steer clear and wait to hear more from Mr. Green.
Good shout, good shout. I can dig that.
He is certainly a useful person to know.
He certainly is. He's a very good sheriff.
Positively a fountain of information.
That he was.
Regarding pretty much everything to do with the city.
Well, he's been here a while, so he can tell you a lot about it. But, the sheriff tends to have the eyes and ears in the right place.
Which, of course, is quite vital in his position.
Alright.
So we want to know the kindred who do.
I'll go ahead and make my entrance then. Almost at the mention of his name, as if you are summoning him with some type of necromantic or infernal ritual, the trench coat wearing, awfully fantastic hat wearing, sunglasses at night jackass that you all know and love as Frank Green goes ahead and makes his presence known through the entrance of this particular wine bar. And he is actually going ahead and tugging along a new face that Lady Sheraton may know, as well as some of the Malkavians who recently met Tobias. Simply goes ahead and enters the establishment, makes quick to go ahead and hang his trench coat up to make himself look less of a jackass, but then he looks towards the gathered congregation, tries to pick out somebody who's making his ears burn.
Limey raises his hat.
Green goes ahead and raises his similarly fashioned hat and goes ahead and walks over. What's up?
Limey stands up and extends a hand. Good evening, Mr. Green.
Good evening, Limey. How's everything? He goes ahead and shakes your hand quite readily.
Yeah, it's not bad. Ever since our little excursion, life's been relatively quiet. Business is going exceptionally well.
Very good, very good. What is all this then? What have you been discussing in my absence?
We're just informing the new boy about the ins and outs of the city. He gestures towards a shabbily dressed man who you might or might, who he believes you'll recognise as Jason.
Ah, JJ, my long lost mate. How are we doing this evening?
Mr. Green, doing very well. I didn't know there were so many faces that I didn't know in the city.
Oh, it's
Definitely an eye-opener.
a city of 6 million people at the least, my good sir.
True, but up until last week, I've only known of myself being the only vampire, so it's always astonishing to see others.
Speaking of newcomers to the city, I'm not sure how many of you have met. Oh dear, Mr. Tobias Fudge.
Budge. He looks at everybody and says, Tobias, I believe that I have met some of you, which he looks like Lady Sheridan, Frank Green, Celine Rousseau, and the Miss Hale. But it is a pleasure to meeting with you all.
Limey kind of raises his hat across the table. How do you do, Limey?
A man puts his hand to his heart and nods his head. He looks towards the Jason Myrtle. And you, sir?
Jason,
Pleasure to meet you.
and you as well.
Isabel will smile at Tobias. Tobias, nice to see you again. How are you?
I'm quite fine, my lady. It is a pleasure to see you again as well. I hope the evening is looking good on you.
She nods. Much better than the other night. And she'll sort of nudge Celio, who's been quiet for a while. Hey, our friend's here.
And Celia looks over and says, "So he is. Good to see you again."
It is a pleasure to see you again, Mr. Rossi. I remember. How was night for you? How was the night for you?
So far, it's been going very well.
Quite nice, quite nice.
I'd like to say, take this opportunity to say to the two newcomers, Resident Harpy, if you have any boons to discuss, you just let me know and I'll record them. Can you dig it?
I can.
Glad to hear it.
Tobias?
He looks at Frank Green and says, I owe a minor boon to Frank Green. We talked about this, and I will, after I take your number, I will inform you about the extent of the boon.
Of course, minor boon. He pulls out a small notebook and scribbles something down in it.
I
will
believe that Jason could use a little advice in the area of safety and finding his way around the Camarilla. This is said to Frank, but with a small glance and smile, a little bit nod of a head to Jason. She's not saying this in a nasty way, just in a probably should be looked after by somebody.
Yes. That is what that's the great thing about family, isn't it? With family, you can go ahead and watch out for your younger people, and with family, you can go ahead and reach up to the older people for help and support.
There's one big happy family.
Speaking of family, have you heard anything regarding your family yet?
Right. You'll be glad to know, Sheridan, that that my children has been returned to me. Apparently, there was a mishap during a camping adventure over at an island.
She'll
I had
actually
to-
smile at this news, which might surprise a few people who are used to her smirking rather than smiling.
Yes.
Yeah, she got hold of me on the blower the other day. It was very nice to hear that she's back safe, but I did feel it appropriate to tell her that we were, how you say, worried sick.
She's been made well aware, and she's pretty much kicking herself at the moment for worrying the whole lot of us. But I was able to find her, and I was able to bring her back.
Well,
And that is, after all, the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Camping trip.
Well, we have life, we can learn, and we can learn to not be quite so worrying in the future.
No. Really, you people, you lifted my my spirits when I thought I was at my lowest, when we thought the worst had happened.
No, you're doing the same thing, Frank. There is a knock at the door.
And if nobody walks in within 5 seconds of the knock, Lady Sheridan will get up to answer it.
Limey's hand drops beneath the desk.
Ah, Rose. How pleasant to see you again. Do come in.
Rose does come in, and she has been waiting politely at the door to be allowed to let in. She greets Lady Sheridan. Well, thank you so much for the invitation.
There's no trouble. I couldn't imagine organising the evening without you.
Evening, Rose.
Good evening, Mr. Limey. How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. How are you?
I am.
He gestures to a seat next to him, he just pats on it.
And she will accept the invites, and she actually doesn't finish her sentence.
No.
when there's a really tall, blue-skinned, black-eyed lady comes into room, Tobias will actually lick her. It's the first time that in his life that he sees something like this. Well, he will keep his mouth shut. That he will not ask any questions. But Rose will, like, feel the eyes that looked towards her, and then like he looked the other individuals in the room.
Jason, unfortunately, does not have such grace, and his mouth hangs open, seeing a blue-skinned woman enter the room.
And Frank Green's hand goes ahead and backhands Jason across the back of his forehead. Don't gawk.
Sorry.
No, it's quite okay. You can. I can understand the reaction. Don't worry.
Rose is quite stunning.
Yes.
Miss Rose of Clan Bruges.
We have 2 new kindred in the city, as well as the 2 relative newcomers. I swear we are becoming quite the location for sending new chowder, apparently.
Well, hopefully the city continues to grow as such. I know that we've been dying for the numbers for quite some time.
And that we have. It's nice to see the city livening up again.
Have you met any of our newcomers already?
Well, I've met a few of them, but it's always nice to see new faces.
Please, do introduce yourselves, gentlemen.
A man with a cane looks towards Rose. Tobias Budge.
Oh, very pleased to meet you, sir. My name is Rose.
Pleasure to meet you.
Jason nods his head really quickly. Jason.
Pleasure is all mine. But please don't let me stop you from any conversation you are having.
Given how many newcomers we have to the city, it rather seems like we might need to have some kind of a lesson.
A lesson?
Merely saying that, given the very barest of educations that may have been received by Childer before arriving here, a quick education in the traditions might be called for.
Oh, I have my own version of the traditions, and Jason over there has already heard my spiel. I suppose Rossi, you, and Lady Sheridan have already been pounding out how very, very... let's just go ahead, you know the etiquette.
We have discussed appropriate behavior, yes.
Mm-hmm. As far as the new person, Tobias over here, maybe for his benefit. Simply because he has new to the existence and new to interacting with others of his kind. Like most of these new people.
Alright, want me to go through the traditions, or are we just gonna skip that whole spiel?
Oh, as far as myself, Frank Green has his own style of presenting the traditions to people. I've already done it to that Jason character over there, but if you guys have your own style of doing it, I would love to hear it.
Or like Limey would just give the official traditions, you know, Harpy, and he figures it's kind of his job to be like, okay, etiquette in the city. So he kind of, Limey kind of shuffles to his feet and opens his hands, says, right, you know, I'll keep it short and sweet because I don't want to bore the people that have heard these 1,000 times before, but right, first tradition, thou shalt not reveal thy true nature to those not of the blood, yada yada yada. Keep the masquerade, people. You know, we don't keep the masquerade, we reveal ourselves to the public. That's when inquisitions happen, so keep it on the down low, dig? Second tradition, domain. Domain is thine own concern, all others owe thee respect while in it, yada yada. Basically, your gifted domain, it's your job to keep a watch over it. If somebody is in your domain, you are in somebody else's domain, be polite. You know, don't throw your weight around. And when he says this, he gives a slight glance at Celio, but it doesn't sort of make a big deal out of it. He sort of glances at him.
Celio just quietly smirks to himself.
At which point, Limey will sort of shoot him another glance and be like, "Ooh, no."
Yeah. When Limey said that, there was a slight quirk of the lip. When Celio smirked, Lady Sheridan's eyebrow went up.
So, right, third tradition, the progeny. Thou shalt only sire another with the permission of thine elder. That spiel, right? Okay. The deal is no making others of our kind unless the prince has said that you're allowed to. Pretty simple rule. And, you know, let's face it, nobody really, at this particular time, wants that amount of responsibility. Fourth tradition.
You say, good sir, you say.
Well, yeah, but you've got, you know, Elena, you know, and she's a pretty crafty little girl anyway, do you know what I mean? It's not like she needed much learning. It says, right, anyway, fourth tradition, accounting. Those thou create are thine own shoulder, blah, blah. If you make them, you look after them. And he glances at Green and he says, take a leaf out of Green's book.
Mm-hmm.
He says, fifth tradition, hospitality. Honour one another's domain. When thou comest to a foreign city, thou shalt present thyself to the one who ruleth there. Without the word of acceptance, thou art nothing. Right. Technically, you two, and he points to both of the newcomers, he says, technically, you aren't recognised in this city, which means that you're not under its protection. However, seeing as the prince is a very busy man and there are several members of the court here, we will consider you unofficially recognised, so no killing them, people. Right. Sixth tradition, final tradition, this one's really important. The destruction. Thou art forbidden to destroy another of thy kind. The right of destruction belongeth only to thine elder. Only the eldest among thee shall call the blood hunt. Right. Don't kill each other. Really big deal. Do that, it's curtains for you. Prince finds out, blood hunt's called on you. Any questions?
Jason will shake his head. No. Thanks again for that explanation.
I can dig it, man. I can dig it. I knew I could count on you. My friend. And he looks at Budge.
I already know the traditions, thank you.
Well, thank you for elucidating them so very charmingly.
No problem. It's my
I
job.
certainly feel that were they not hammered into my mind, I should have found them crystal clear.
Wonderful, glad to hear it. He kind of sort of straightens his suit and then sits back down and slouches back into the chair.
How many coteries are there in the city at the moment?
Currently, ain't really many official coteries.
That is sad.
Well, we were very few in number for a while. We were just like one big happy coterie. However, unofficially, there is a small group of people dealing with one rather large issue in our city at the moment.
What issue?
Oh, you haven't heard? The maestro, I suppose we have been, I say we, he glances at Sheridan, been rather adept at keeping it from the public eye. There's a serial killer on the loose. Kindred serial killer, goes by the name of the Maestro. Her modus operandi is to kill people, leave them in alleys, and style their cadavers in the fashion of an instrument of some variety.
Yeah. Tobias looks at Frank Green and then looks at the Limey. Please inform me if you need my help.
I'm sure we will.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been any news about the case?
Looks
News
like
about this case.
the Debussy concert's our next hit. Open air concert. We need to get on it over the next couple of days. And we found Samuel. I managed to track him down to an apartment. He's currently spending time at the leisure of Frank Green in a discreet location.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Frank, if you need my help with anything, please let me know.
So many hands make light work. Okay, fair enough. I know the people I can call upon.
However, let's not forget that too many cooks spoil the broth in it, so, let's consolidate, spread ourselves.
Yep. Fair enough. That nasty business has gone ahead and bound a few of us together in a like-minded cause. Again, if you have any leads or if you discover anything you think might be related with the case, do not hesitate to get in contact with me. I will try to follow up at my earliest convenience. I apologize if I delay you somewhat, but I am a busy man.
I'm sorry, I drifted off. What did I miss?
No worries. I was just commenting to the congregation that should they come up with any leads or if they find something that they think may be related to the case, to bring it up to me and I will try to follow it up.
I'm sure if you can't personally, you'll find somebody just as capable.
In any case, this is a social gathering. Tobias, you were talking about coteries within the city. If you're
Yes.
wishing or looking forward to create your own coterie, I would definitely encourage such an endeavor. It's through coteries of the neonates that the city will function. You cannot depend on any of the elders to come down from on high simply because New York is a city for neonates to prosper.
It is certainly full of opportunity.
It does. I am looking for a coterie to join. Well, he looks at everybody and says, like, I'm skilled in management of finance.
Fine.
If a coterie needs my help, or I can join the coterie, or you can always ask me. I can always do the job for the right price.
I was just doing it sooner rather than later, people. I remember coming into the city and simply walking into the first coterie that I had the advantage of taking over. And I prospered. It did me very well. It was a very, very good first step.
Maybe we should look at setting a couple of coteries up.
Could work.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Isabel.
I always seem to speak when you were speaking. At the mention of coteries forming, she sort of nudges Celio, and especially when Tobias says he's looking for one to join. Celio, perhaps you should talk to Tobias over there about the little group we've been forming.
And as Isabel says, he just looks to Frank Green because he was talking about he mentioned forming coteries, and he said, I was actually thinking about making one myself. Just getting together with a few other kindred to get things done. But having something official would probably be a much better idea.
Do not worry about formalities or the officialhood of such a grouping. You are of a bloodline that are natural leaders. I can definitely see you being the figurehead of such a grouping of kindred. Go ahead and draw the kindred that you need together to yourself and present them. You don't need my official say to do anything. And if I like what you go ahead and present to me, I might actually make you useful. Have a job for you.
Alright. And with this, he motions to Isabel, who's probably sitting next to him, and says, the group that I've been getting together with consists of myself, Isabel, who is very good at acquiring things, even information. Especially information from what I hear.
I have no doubt about this.
Then he motions to Jason and says, and upon meeting Jason, I've discovered he has a few talents that would come in very helpful in tougher situations. And
Fair enough.
As he says tougher situations, he kind of holds his hands up as if mimicking a boxer's stance.
Limey kind of glances at him like, like, and then sort of goes
Frank
back.
Green goes ahead and brings his own hands up and sort of does an airplane, actually, and puts his own fist up, crashes the airplane hand into it, and says, like that?
Very much like that.
Fair enough. You may congregate and talk to and make plans, scheme, whatever you like to. But if you would like to extend a coterie hoodship to the two kindred that you've already mentioned, go ahead and do so. I can't wait. Can't wait for you to come up with a name for it.
He goes, I'll come up with a name in the next day or so.
Very well. Like I said, I can't wait to hear it.
Speaking of which, I'm not really sure, Coterie. I mean, I've worked with a few different people in the city. Maybe I'm just going to carry on doing my own thing and see if Coterie falls into place.
Coteries are things that sort of build up naturally between kindred that have at least like-minded intentions. I remember the first coterie that I had within the city, from all different facets of the Camarilla, but we seem to work rather well together as a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
The architects in their heyday were fantastic. They really were.
Who? The who?
The architects. That was the old coterie's name.
Building the city, I assume.
That's exactly correct. We were building the city. We were taking positions of authority to ourselves, and we were trying to keep the city afloat for as long as possible. Those were the good days.
A very worthy cause.
Mm-hmm.
No, those good days don't have to be a thing of the past, my man. They don't have to be a thing of the past.
Well, I certainly hope that the future nights will see again the kind of prosperity that we enjoyed only 9 months ago.
Well, I can certainly say in my end of Manhattan, things are coming together rather nicely. Lady Sheridan seems to be doing a rather nice job. In
She'll
fact,
give a small
Manhattan.
nod of acknowledgement there.
Huh?
She'll give a small nod of acknowledgement there.
In fact, Manhattan seems to be shaping up rather nicely.
Certainly glad to hear it. All this talk about the future, all this talk about congregating together, all this talk about these grand plans that we wish for the city. What does the city really truly need? I'd like to hear each one of your opinions on that one. But let's go ahead and start with eeny, meeny, miny, Sheridan. What does the city need?
The city needs many things, but not least for us to deal with the maestro before any more trouble comes from it. But I can't help but feel that what the city could really use right now is a seneschal. Someone to lighten the load of the prince a little. After all, as we said, the prince is difficult to get hold of, and we have so many new kindred coming to the city. Someone should meet with them. Of course, as the sheriff, it has somewhat fallen to you, but
it has fallen to me. It has fallen to me, but it's not one of the responsibilities or duties allocated to my office. I understand this.
Though she does make a very good point in bringing up your name, Mr. Green. I think if I were to give a recommendation forward for Seneschal, then you might have to be it.
Should I become Seneschal, I leave another office empty. If I do go ahead and take another position, then I have to think about, who I would place, behind me in the office I'm leaving.
It certainly doesn't seem to have stopped some people in garnering multiple positions.
Well, that's true enough, but I've survived this long in this city without tearing my hair out, simply by knowing exactly how much of a workload I require.
Alright, fair enough, fair enough. Think about it though.
well, Limey, what do you feel this city needs?
I think it needs a strong, organised infrastructure. I think, starting with Manhattan, we need to build up on our influences. I mean, I can certainly say on my end that's going rather swimmingly, but I think everyone here should focus on their influences and build them. If we can consolidate in Manhattan, we can then spread to other areas of the city rather easily. That's what I think. I think, of course, we should be dealing with the maestro issue. I think we do need a seneschal. But, yeah, I think we need to be able to list the connections and influences everyone in the city wields so that we know exactly how to handle any crisis that come upon us. We did it once at the War Council, but since then we've had a lot of people leave and a lot of people show up, you think? We should be able to consolidate our resources.
Oh, I most certainly dig that. I most certainly dig that. Let's see if we can't control this city. Because at the end of the night, this city is ours.
It certainly is. Though I must say, I have found the city to be rather more organised than when I got here. I think we have a goal, and I think there's a lot of people working towards it. I can dig that.
I'm sure we've all done our best on that front.
Rose, what does the city need?
Sorry, what? I beg your pardon, I was not paying attention.
Rose, we're simply talking about what does the city need at the moment. We're looking forward into future nights and seeing and extrapolating and questioning ourselves. What do we need? What does this city need?
Cohesion.
What's the motive of silver hand?
It's not easy. We have everything. We have every element, but we need to put it together.
Very much short, eloquent, and to the point way of phrasing exactly what I think we were trying to put across. Thank you, Rose.
I'm sorry, my mind was elsewhere.
Goes kind of, sort of Limey kind of nudges her, like, sort of, and like gives her a glance, like, we should probably talk.
No, it's not that, don't worry.
To the new people who have yet to raise their voice, to the new people that have yet to walk these city streets for very, very long, what do you want from this city? What kind of future do you see?
Jason will speak up rather quickly. I'm just happy with what I've been given already. Finding a home, knowing that I am not alone in this world. Hopefully, with time, get my own place and be able to build upon it.
You're a gangrel, you're a survivor. You'll make it. Probably, maybe. You'll make it. Probably, maybe.
As long as there are no cliffs in my future. Hopefully.
He looks at you rather sternly. Oh, but Jason, nobody can say there won't be a cliff you need to jump over at one point or another. Nobody can really say that you aren't going to need to be tested with trials, whether it be environmental or with the own sanctity of your soul.
Trust me, he's literally not joking about that cliff thing.
Really?
Or in some cases, bridges, of course. He shoots a glance at Green.
Mm-hmm.
Jason shakes his head and struggles a little bit in his seat, clearly looking uncomfortable with the prospect of a cliff in his future.
Isabel, you seem to be rather quiet tonight. What does the city need? What do you want from this city? Going to the future, what do we need?
Isabel, actually, hold on a second. Sorry, wasn't expecting my door to open. Isabel will sort of look up from probably being on her cell phone. What does this city need? She kind of looks around the table and then back to Frank, and she says, well, everyone's pretty much already said everything I thought of when you first asked the question, but I think more time like this. I mean, from the moment I've arrived, there's been everything going on with the maestro. It's been stressing. When I first arrived here, not really knowing what it was like to be a Malkavian and understanding what I am, I sought my sanity here. But it seems, over the past few nights, with other things going on, and she glances down for a moment, I don't think I'm going to find my sanity. So, she shrugged. I think we need a little bit more calm. At least a little bit. She nods.
It's true. We do need to find those places. We do need to find those times to actually remind ourselves what in the world we're doing it all for. What are we doing it all for? We can continue to survive night after night after night in mediocrity. In fact, you could walk out into the wild if you really wanted to and spend the rest of your nights there. But the question is, what in your soul? What tells you that you're alive? What reminds you that you should be striving for the next big thing? Times like these? Yes. This is a social event. This is a social gathering, and I feel quite blessed that we're able to at least gather here, maybe even just for a few minutes to simply relate to one another as we ought to.
Introspection is valuable. So, Frank, you asked the question, but you are as yet the person who has not answered it. What do you think this city needs?
There are so many people here who have yet to answer it. Consider me the last one. Because I know for a fact nobody's going to come up with the answer that I have.
Very well.
What about you? What do you think, Mel?
I was gonna say, Isabel sort of nudges Celio, since she usually gets all of her ideas through him, at least recently. What about you then?
We'd already mentioned that we need control. If we don't have control of the city will eventually control us. You said we need more moments like this where we can calm down and relax and unwind. And as important as that is, I think what we really need is more communication between all kindred. If the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, they may, unbeknownst to each other, work to undo what they've both been creating.
Fair dues. Fair dues. We used to have a line of communication open with the eldest of the clans, and that's how we disseminated information. But it seems in this city we have gone past that. The elders have left us neonates to do as we are wont to do, so a new system may need to be proposed. However, I understand. Communication. Limey, you seem to have a smirk.
Nothing. Out of character smirk. Sorry. No, sorry. I was just lost in a world of my own momentarily.
Fair dues, fair dues. Tobias, newcomer. You've been in this city for a few nights. You've gone ahead and heard the words of the kindred gathered here, but I want a new perspective. I want a brand new perspective from somebody who has just walked in.
Tobias raises his hand, looks at his hand. You guys will see a clean hand, and he will think for 5 minutes. He won't say anything. He was thinking all the time when you ask the question. He will think 5 more minutes and say, imagination, structure, more coteries, and I believe we need a little bit of fun.
Fun. Very subjective thing.
Happy mind is always the useful one.
It doesn't make a bad point. All work and no play and all that.
It matters not how we, complete our task. That's only it's done. But happy people tend to work more than the unhappy ones. I don't say that we forget what we face too, but we just said let's be happy. Do the things that we are happy.
Fair dues, fair dues.
And with that, Alex Dales appears in a empty chair and smiles at everyone. I think we all need more brotherhood amongst ourselves.
That party trick's wearing off fast.
Jason gives the parlor trick a do, though, and gives a slight jump at the sudden appearance of another.
Don't worry, new boy. He does this all the time.
I
Even
do?
Mr. Cole. That's right, Mr. Dales. Yeah, you've done this to us at least 3 times now. At least to me.
Oh. I could have sworn,
That's it.
It's cool, I can dig it. It's not a mistake.
anyway, I did get here a little earlier. I just didn't want to interrupt everyone.
It just reminds me that I need to beef up the security within certain gatherings and make sure that, and he goes ahead and points to the back door that you obviously came through, the obfuscate having been broken. Frank Green remembers where you came in from the room, simply goes ahead and points it out, saying, and I'm going to make sure that that door is locked next time.
If we use this place again.
Which we shouldn't.
No.
What does the city need? What does this city need?
Is it not?
What does this city need? I don't know. It's my turn to speak. And everybody has already gone ahead and given me so many ideas, so many great points of reference, that entire list of things that this city needs. For me, personally, I know what the city needs. The city needs more kindred. More capable kindred, more communicative kindred, more active kindred. I've seen this city at its lowest, and I've seen it at its highest, and all I can say is if you need a record of those times, if you need a history of a kindred who's gone through all this fantastic nonsense and come out the other side of it, don't hesitate to ping me and call me up. As for myself, I'll be the old man in the corner telling old wives' tales, and if I can finish my nights like that, that would be fantastic.
Very nice.
This city needs a bit of a retirement plan.
Well, a retirement plan is certainly something which some people can look forward to.
Oh, but not our kind. We will continue to exist. We continue to grow. No sense in wasting the potential nights you have in the future to very productive work. All I can say is the city needs a bit of fortitude to help us survive the next few nights, and the next few nights after that. Fortitude, people. Fortitude.
Certainly something that has been on a lot of people's minds of late. And here she will glance slightly to Limey, who knows rather more about that than the rest of the characters.
His eyes will sort of gleam towards Lady Sheridan, and then sort of just return to neutral. He does know the ins and outs of all of that. Damn it. So, anyone know any good jokes? No? Okay.
Rose stands up and she apologizes herself. I'm sorry if that I will only be here shortly, but I have someone to check up on.
Wait, Rose. Then he sort of shuts up when he realises they're in a room full of people. So it's like, I'll call you.
Sure.
Are you making your exit?
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
might-
Rose is just greeting everybody, and she will leave the door, through the door. Blah.
Well, everyone, the night draws in, and if there is nothing else to discuss business-wise, then I have my own affairs to attend to. I hope to see you all very soon. It was a pleasure to meet both of you, Jason, Mr. Budge. Please don't hesitate to contact me if we have anything to talk about. And Boone's
I
people,
will.
remember your Boone. Hmm?
I will.
Yes. Oh, and Boone's people, remember to start paying back your boons, or at least making an effort to. I don't want to have to start putting pressure on people, but they're kind of a currency that keeps our society moving around, so.
Well, boons are recalled at the request of the person to whom they are owed. If you have no use for them yet, you can hold on to them for as long as you would like.
You can hold on to them for as long as you like, but it is, in etiquette terms, the responsibility of the person who owns the boon to to try and make amends in whatever way they can.
Of course.
Right. Take it easy, people. And he gets up and he slouches out of the room.
At the mention of a boon, she looks back to Frank. Speaking of, have you thought about what I can do in return?
Mr. Green? Ah,
Oh.
think he got disconnected.
Oh,
But he's back, so do you want to ask again, Isabel?
Yeah.
says he left again.
Yeah, it says he left.
Yeah, that's because the one that had frozen went off. Austin, you are there, aren't you? Austin?
Yeah, he's here.
He
Just
typed.
frozen in the chat.
Please forgive us for these technical difficulties.
Well, if you can hear, at least I'll restate Isabel's part where she'll turn to Frank and sort of cant her head and ask, "Speaking of boons, have you thought about how I can repay mine yet?"
And Frank Green will say nothing.
And Isabel will look dejected and go back to her phone.
Denied!
Frank Green is secretly a Malkavian who has the power of deny. Deny!
I see we have two new people. Maybe introduce myself as Alex Dales. And you are, and he extends his hand to the older gentleman.
The Tobias actually look at you really strange when you just pop up, so he kind of holds your hand, like it's like grip. He holds your hands really tight and says, "Tobias Budge."
Evening. And Then he turns to the man with the top hat. And you are?
Jason, a pleasure. Shakes his hand.
Pleasure. And, well, he takes out 2 cards and hands one to Jason and then one to Tobias. Please contact me if you think I could be of any help.
Do we have a Mr. Greenback?
I don't think so. Anyway, I'll be right back. Sorry.
Okay.
What is your... I mean, how can I get your help? I will simply call you, but when should I call you, Mr. Dales? Mr. Dales?
I think no. He did say that he was popping away for a minute.
Oh, okay. So, like, he will ask through the lady Sheridan. When should I need his help? Mr. Dales' help. He just told me what he is good at, and he didn't tell me what he's good at, and just told me, call me. I don't know. When should I call him?
Well, what you may not know is that our dear Mr. Dales is a member of the the more underground dwelling. He is a Nosferatu, and as such has a tendency towards the collection of secrets and the ability to go places that perhaps other people could not go.
Oh, I understand.
It's true. Although there are sneakier people than me.
Our prince included.
Ugh, he's a class within himself. I wouldn't be sure if even if all your doors and windows are locked, he isn't in the room.
He is the prince. It's his domain. He can do whatever he wants with it.
True. But one likes to think that one can sit down in one's living room without being worried.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, you know what they say. The innocent don't need to worry about being found guilty.
There's a strange smile in Tobias' faces after that.
Right, can we actually hear Austin now?
Austin!
Right. I'm sure Mr. Green will be able to furnish you with a list of safe places to get in touch with nature. But should he not be able to, and in this she's talking to Jason, I do have a rather sizable garden that you're more than welcome to visit.
Oh, now that you mention it, Jason and Tobias, you both have been warned about what places not to go into, right?
Yes, I was given a small list, and Lady Sheridan, I appreciate the offer, and should I ever require, I will definitely be in touch.
Oh, see, the Sheridan told me that she is looking for business partners.
I think it was hinted at.
Okay. Another strange smile into Vice's face.
Anyway, Sheridan's going to give her business card to Jason. It's got her name, phone number and email address. It does not have the address of her house.
Thank you, he says as he takes it. Doesn't glance at it, though, sticking it in his pockets, which seem to be filling up with business cards tonight.
Yep.
I haven't been warned about the places that we shouldn't go.
Ooh, let me run down on the list. Okay, you know Central Park?
Yes.
Yeah, don't go there. It's full of big, wild creatures. You don't want to go to the Bronx, and you do not want to go to Staten Island.
Usually these terms come with a explanation.
Well, the Bronx has what what I've come to know as demons. I've not met many of them. And in Staten Island, we have our old eternal enemy called the Sabbat.
Queens is also something of an issue.
Queens now.
At least I heard as much.
I knew we shouldn't go outside of Manhattan much, but I didn't know Queens was actively becoming hostile.
I don't know, but not a pleasant place to visit, let's just say that.
Well, in my opinion, we have quite the nice bit of real estate for ourselves in Manhattan. I think we've picked the best spot to live.
I should like to think so. Even if there are some issues regarding our neighbours.
Yes. But we are surrounded on most sides by water.
Yes. I rather meant some of our other neighbours. Although, the werewolf that I have spoken to seemed quite pleasant.
Yeah, from the stories I've heard, I've expected us to be killing each other on sight, but it doesn't seem to be working out that way.
Well, just to remember that they can kill us anytime.
True.
That can very much work both ways. Depending on the individuals.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, to be fair, that is true of most people, given enough motivation.
And time.
Of course. After all, if you can afford to wait for an opportunity, you can find one that suits you best.
Right.
The Tobias rises from his seat. He will nod at everyone. It was a pleasure to meeting with you all. I have a lot of business to attend to this night. before leaving, he will look at Lady Sheridan and say, "My dear lady, I would like to speak with you when you are free about the business offer that you just made."
She'll frown slightly because she didn't actually make a business offer right today, but yeah. But she'll just nod.
That's what he understands, Like, everything is business for him, so he just said business. He smiles, and all you guys hear a knock of the cane when he leaves the door. Tapping, not the knock, sorry.
Well, when he leaves, Alex will smile and look at Lady Sheridan. Well, seems you have a new investor.
It seems so.
In what? I have no idea, but, well, at least they seem to be falling from the sky for you.
Well, I do have something that could use some investors, but I didn't think that I had mentioned it this evening.
Maybe word gets round.
That's true.
He'll look over at Isabel and Celio? Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes.
Okay. And smile. How are the two detective assistants doing? I haven't heard much from you since we finished up the last case.
Yes, well, I know I've been doing alright. Isabel got a new cat, but other than that, there's really not much going on. Although we do have a few things being set up as we speak.
Ah.
And Isabel will smile at the mention of her cat.
Will these investigations possibly need my assistance?
Isabel ponders that. Perhaps, but I'd rather speak about it somewhere more personal. It was a very rough night a few nights ago for me. And I don't wish to pour that burden onto the whole room.
Of course. And discretion is the credo of the private eye. No matter what type of private eye you are.
She will glance over at Jason and Celio, and then she will look at her phone at the time, and she will say, didn't the three of us need to have a discussion before it gets too early in the morning?
I believe we did.
And she nods. Perhaps we should get on our way then. I'd rather make it home before we end up burnt. She smiles.
Yes, not all of us can just jump out down the nearest sewer hole and make our way home.
Isabel kind of chuckle at that, and she'll look at Jason, or sink into the ground. And don't do that again, mister. I already cleaned that suit once. I'm not doing it again.
Jason looks somewhat abashed. I came in with minimal amount of dirt.
Minimal?
He could have came in with a wheelbarrow.
Isabel kind of shakes her head at Jason. And this is why you keep your pet gangrel off the couch.
Yeah.
Lady Sheridan will raise an eyebrow at the phrase pet gangrel.
Jason will growl slightly at the mention, but not respond.
And Isabel will pick a little further and say, "Don't make me get my get your muzzle."
Oh dear.
At that, Jason will stand. It was a pleasure to meet you, Lady Sheridan.
It was a pleasure to meet you as well. Just one word of advice, Isabel.
Yes.
You may want to be slightly aware of the things that you say and how they might be interpreted. And also, perhaps invest in a shower room relatively close to the door. It might solve an awful lot of problems.
Isabel will sort of go a little tight-lipped for a moment at that. But she will soon after politely smile and nod. "You're right, of course, Lady Sheridan. Boys," she'll motion to Delio and Jason as she stands up.
And at that, Seal will stand up and just say, you're right. We should probably head out. And he looks to everyone and says, again, it's been a pleasure seeing all of you. And say, I would be
I wish you
tempted to
all
stay
a very
longer.
good night.
Thank you. And have a pleasant night, or what's left of it. He goes, and for security, I would say we should probably not come back to this place. Just change up our routine a bit in case anyone's watching our movements through the city.
I very much agree. I think that a different location for each gathering is quite a good course of action.
Maybe something with a pool or hot tub. Just throwing that out there.
It can certainly be arranged.
And with this, he'll start to head to the door and motion for Isabel to follow. And he'll look to Jason and just say, do you need a lift?
Please.
Or,
And,
and then he'll open up the door for the other two.
And
Jason,
Isabel will offer a wave to everyone in the room behind her and slip out of the door.
Jason will quickly nod to Alex, and a pleasure meeting you as well, as he gets rushed out the door.
After the two leave, Celia will step through the door and close it behind himself.
Well, it's nice to see you, Lady Sheridan. I don't believe I've spoken to you privately before.
No, I don't believe we have spoken in without company as yet.
Anyway, so I hear you've met some werewolves. That's interesting.
I have met one as yet.
Hmm.
Quite interesting character.
And I don't notice any bleeding wounds, so he mustn't have attacked you.
He didn't.
Hmm.
In fact, he seemed almost affectionate. Yes. I rather think that you might be worth looking into developing a greater rapport with in the future. One never knows when a werewolf might come in handy.
True, but
Carefully, of course.
right. Mm, Not only might you, his fellows might not like it if you were associating too closely with him, even if you were the warden.
Yes, although he seems unconcerned by this for the time being. In fact, I rather think that he would like to associate a little more closely. But that is all quite useful in its own way.
Mm. And if I'm reading between the lines, it used to be a lot more pleasurable.
Perhaps. Really does vary.
Then again, given my condition, I do not have much chance to try.
I rather meant the matter of before embrace.
Ah,
That the level of pleasure did tend to vary rather a lot, depending on the partner.
true. I was merely speaking of, even if they were good, I've had stories that the embrace can make even the most passionate knight seem pale, as when you were mortal and living. Well,
Yes, well, some of that might be for the best.
mhm. So, you've met a werewolf. Have you met anyone else?
Quite briefly, I did have a conversation with a demon.
Ooh. Well, did he take your soul?
To the best of my knowledge, as much as I had one to begin with. Which is a matter of some debate among our kind, I believe.
Yes, it is. But, given that you're...
Considering he asked why I didn't have a spark, I might not know what a soul is or is not, but whatever it is that the demons are after, which may be called a soul, I'm not entirely certain that we have one.
Well, at least you're not more pale or gaunt-looking than you were when you left last. Which I have to say.
No, I am still quite as personable as I ever was. As I said, what they might call a soul and what we might define as a soul may very well be two different things.
So,
but I doubt we are palatable to them.
well, at least that means they won't come and bug us. For that, at least.
Yes.
I may have met someone. He seemed to have had a coin appear out of nowhere on his head. And for some reason, I changed into a well, I remember changing my appearance to look like a woman, but I didn't. Uh, I can't remember why or for what reason.
Is that generally something that you can or would do?
No, that isn't something I usually do. I know I can change my appearance to look like a woman, but
Then why ever would you not?
eh, I can't get the voice right.
Perhaps. I would have thought
Anyway,
the mannerisms might be more of difficulty.
that too. Anyway, the big deal is I can't remember why I did it, and and given our predilection for being unable to drink alcohol, I don't feel I was inebriated. So why is it I can't remember why I did that? And why did that man? Uh, one moment I was talking to him, and that's another thing. I can't remember exactly what I was talking to him about. And I usually have a perfect memory.
As someone who knows a little something about memories, would you like me to attempt to look into it?
I have nothing to hide on that or any other matter. So, if you wish, you may look. I assume you're speaking of discipline or something?
Yes. Yes, I rather think I should. And I am going to make a dominate roll, in fact.
Okay, and I'm going to see if I can find a changeling ST to see what you would remember or what you would find.
Mm-hmm. Because I should be able to find out, A, if someone has messed with your mind, and B, I may or may not be able to get the information back. But it really depends on what was done to your mind in the first place.
Uh-oh.
So any word yet on whether I can make a dominate roll and what the difficulty will be? Because usually the difficulty is your willpower, but it might also be altered by how many successes.
Yeah, and also the fact that it was affected by banality.
Yeah, I did think that that was the case. Out of character. In character, she doesn't know about these things, but either way, I'm not sure whether the forgetful mind would be able to help or not. I honestly do not know.
Guys, all see why it's still silent.
Okay.
Because we're trying to find out from one of the STs about a ruling on this particular role.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we are still live. Sorry, we are having a few issues here.
What do you need a ruling on?
Well, Alex had his memory lost due to banality and dealing with changelings.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out whether Dominate the Forgetful Mind will register that as having been altered in some way, and whether it can be recovered through it.
Okay, make me a die roll, difficulty 9.
Okay. See, that's fine if we have a difficulty is all. Okay, so that's manipulation subterfuge.
With subterfuge.
Which dominator? I'm assuming you're using.
Oh yeah, wit subterfuge. Sorry, yeah.
I'm assuming you're using the level 3 dominator skill?
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, wit subterfuge. 1 success.
1 success. At that point, yeah, I'm afraid. Well, you look at him deep in the eyes, and using your dominate prowess, you get him to recite from his own mouth. Because how this discipline works is essentially it's a form of hypnotism. It's not just you see it through them. You.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to see whether I can get him.
I know. I'm just reciting for you.
Okay.
And as you look deeply into your eyes and get him to start reciting the specific time when he met with these strange individuals. And it starts off with a bit of clarity. He knows how he got there. He knows the place that he went to. He knows what he had for who he had for dinner that night. But when it comes to dealing with these creatures, you get close to the point. You try to cover the points, but both at the beginning and at the end, you try eliminate these areas of memory that don't really matter to your attentions, and he just becomes vaguer and vaguer until it gets close. Probably, perhaps half an hour close on either side to meeting with these individuals, and the vagueness just makes the entirety of the memory completely useless. There's nothing of use in the memory that you can get from him. It's so indistinct, so that there was something there, but there is no detail, there is no specifics.
But can I tell that his memory has been messed with, and by something external, not simply that he doesn't... If you see what I mean.
No,
It has been messed with rather than poorly formed in the first place. If you see
Okay, I know. The specifics I shall give you is when you try to track down the specifics of the memory, when and he said that he done these things, it's just vague, really, really vague. You can tell that in his memory, when it gets close to the spot that you're looking for, he becomes vague. That's what you can get from him. You can't get detail.
Fair enough.
Which
if you want on the specifics, the effects that you're dealing with are so incredibly subtle, so quite powerful that it's gonna take a lot more than that to get more.
Oh yeah. No, I'm just idly trying to find it out because Alex was saying about meeting some people and not being able to remember, so I figured I would try and check on his memory.
I remember this one guy, John Smith, very good. It's just the time of the actions happening around him, I can't remember very clearly.
Yeah, essentially for you, it's like if you want to roleplay it appropriately, it's like a dream that you forgot after you woke up, and you're desperately trying to kind of get any kind of detail. It's just there, but it's long gone, and you know it's long gone.
So, as I said, I didn't see him put the coin on his forehead, but he must have put it on his forehead by himself, but it just didn't seem logical.
Well, certainly seems like something has happened.
And there's another weird thing. I had the feeling that this John Smith was important in some way. It's just I never figured out what he was.
Perhaps you should talk with Mr. Silas about this. He does tend to know a good deal about the different people within the city.
Maybe I'll ask Mr. Silas if he has a video camera in the VIP room.
I somehow doubt that he has failed to put one there.
Anyway, so you've got a demon and a werewolf, and I've not been so lucky to run into anyone special like that. But
well, that is debatable.
That is, I do have to say, I have never been so, I believe the phrase is fuzzy-brained in such a long time that it seems too strange to dismiss.
Definitely. I would say something worth investigating further at some point.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I'm not sure it is something I can help you with. As I said, if you speak with Mr. Silas, it is quite possible he'll be able to advise you on at least why the memory is gone.
Right. Anyway, maybe it was just as simple as I drank a bad batch of blood from his bar. But I
doubt it.
Really? I was hoping that was the case. Then I wouldn't have to worry so much.
Well, given the vagueness, the unusual vagueness, and the fact that I'm unable to help in retrieving those memories, I doubt that it is something quite so mundane. Beyond that, I can't really tell you very much.
Okay, thank
But
you.
I would have expected to have gotten slightly more if it was just a case of, shall we say,
roll me an
flavoured
intelligence. Roll me an intelligence and your dice in dominate.
intelligence plus dominate, that's 6 dice. And all the ones! That's
Okay.
ridiculous.
As okay, well, with a well, it's a fail. It's not a botch at the very least.
That's
Yes.
good.
Okay.
Half the dice as ones. It's just ridiculous. But yes.
Okay, with a fail, we'll go with yes. There are plenty of things that can affect a vampire's memory, like a vampire with a similar skill in dominate. But yes, potentially drinking bad blood is in fact also potentially a cause of this. Drugs that have been in a mortal's bloodstream can affect, such as a mortal that has been taking heroin, LSD, various hallucinogenics can have this effect.
Yep. But I rather think he'd remember having drunk from that person first.
You find a vampire who drunk from a person with a huge amount of LSD in this system, and you try to think that vampire would remember.
Hey, you said it got quite close on either side, so
Well, yeah, that's
the memory of drinking is not when it hits him afterwards.
That's true.
Well, you also know that memory is a three-dimensional thing.
Ah, that's quite
But
true.
carry on.
Well, other than that time I drank in Mr. Silas's penthouse nightclub, I have a pretty good recollection of everything, so, you know, normal. Oh, how's the investigation going? I haven't gotten a call about that in a while.
The one into the maestro?
Yeah.
Apparently they've retrieved her ghoul and intend to investigate it.
Hopefully I'll get a call next time you go out.
It's supposed to be the Debussy Embassy? Something like that. An open-air park will be her next target. I very much hope they can deal with that ahead of time.
That would be nice. Do you know what her next target would be like, or does she pick them at random?
An open-air concert.
Oh. No, if we got the thing cancelled, she'd just do it at the next concert.
Yes, well, it has the potential to get really rather messy. But hopefully our sheriff will have things in hand.
Yes. Anyway, I'm going to give sorry. Anyway, well, I can't think of any other pressing business other than I'm still waiting to meet with that werewolf. But now that you've mentioned meeting with that werewolf and you don't have any holes in your body, I think I'm a little less nervous.
I'm glad to hear it. You know what they say about dogs. They can smell fear.
And here I was hoping you were going to say their bark is worse than their bite.
I wouldn't know. I tend to avoid getting bitten.
Well, there's the first time for everything.
Oh, very much so. But I intend to put that off for as long as possible.
Anyway, I insist you let me walk you to your car.
Thank you. Really should take some of these back for the wonderful people that Ghost has been lending to me. She says, and she picks up some of the wine bottles on the tables that are, as so far, somewhat untouched.
May I have one? I'm not sure if my personal assistant likes them, but or likes wine, but if you don't treat them nicely, they start getting what you call it? Testy?
Say again?
Oh, I said if you don't treat them nicely, they start getting testy.
Well, you are more than welcome to help yourself to some.
Thank you. And with that, he reaches for some of the closer bottles to himself and grabs 3 and puts them in his coat pockets.
They're kind of like mid-range wines. You know, I want to say 15 to 20 pounds, which is probably closer to $30, just to let you know.
Cool.
Rather than the ones that are ridiculously expensive, special years, special vineyards, and so forth. But they are kind of good quality ones, if you see what I mean.
Okay, so no Napa Valley Reds.
No.
No, you're dealing with the nice, a couple of French-style wines,
Yeah.
the better vintages of some of the New World wines, that type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Think if you were going shopping and you weren't going to a specialist wine shop, the very best wines you'd expect to find in the supermarket.
Okay.
Or, you know, like the bottom quarter of a wine shop.
Okay.
You know, a decent Chateauneuf de Pape.
Yeah. I'll go with that because I don't actually drink wine.
I sold wine for 4 years and I have a license.
Excellent.
Nice. All right. So when we get to your car, is it the same white car? You're not actually driving it. Someone's driving it for you.
Billy is driving it. Billy, the inept bodyguard. He is very large and he is busily munching biscuits.
Oh, I've not met Lily, but
Billy, the inept bodyguard, is on loan from Ghost. He's got a biker jacket. He is really huge. He's got a couple of tattoos on his arm. And he's quite happily munching biscuits practically the whole time. Billy, the inept bodyguard, is large and muscular and strong, but he is not the smartest.
on seeing this, he's like, well, we must speak again soon, Lady Sheridan, and maybe find out about some other activities going on in the city. Maybe something happy to hear about.
Well, I certainly hope that we shall have another gathering shortly. It is important to get people together every so often.
As I said, it is important to have brotherhood.
Well, good night.
Good night.
And unless Silas wants to randomly appear, I'm thinking that there the scene will end.
No, I think if we do anything, it'll be on something separate. In which case, thank you very much for filming the scene.
And thank you everybody for watching.